The top men's curling teams in the country in Canada are thick into their playdowns. They all got their eyes on the Montana's Brier, presented by AGI and Regina's Brand Center. Tickets are on sale now at curling.ca/tickets, and you can get in for as low as $24 depending on the draw and where you want to sit. But all youth tickets are $9.99. Again, the Montana's Brier coming to the Brand Center March 1st to the 8th. Mike McEwen's going to be there. I'm excited to bring him in. Also, Matty Dunstone's going to be there. Some of the skips have been determined, but I think Alberta and Manitoba are just getting it going this week. Mike, welcome to the RP show. How's it feel being the wonderful rep of my home province? Congratulations, by the way.
It feels really good to be wearing green. I honestly very excited for home Brier in Saskatchewan.
How long were you off the ice, or maybe you weren't even off the ice at the Natana on Sunday when the name Rick Folk came up to you? Or the name came up to you, not Rick Folk, but the drought. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, for sure. I've definitely heard, since 1980, right? That's definitely been something that's brought up to me a few times, ever since I was curling out of Saskatchewan this year. Very aware of the storyline there.
Well, listen, that's the obvious question. I'll start with the obvious questions and then work it back. How do you feel about the pressure of the drought? Which, by the way, I just brought it up. 1980s, what was popular? 1980, neon, big hair, the Brat Pack, iconic toys, Nintendo, Madonna, Duran Duran. That's a long time ago, Mike. So do you feel some pressure with that, or how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I was born in 1980, actually. So, honestly, it's a pretty crazy statistic given Saskatchewan's curling history. They've had great individual champions, obviously, and Pat Simmons playing out of Alberta, Colton Flash as well. But yeah, it's a pretty crazy stat given how deep Saskatchewan curling culture is that stood for so long.
Well, it's painful to Saskatchewan, as you well know. And I guess the good news, you're the first man ever, for people that don't know, to go to the Brier 3 straight years representing 3 different provinces. So you're making history here, but I got to be honest, how did it come about that you jumped around?
Yeah, it is kind of a funny stat. Like, I think for a while people weren't sure I was going to get there after I'd lost half a dozen finals or more to Stoughton back in the day, and 3 in a row for different provinces is it's definitely not something I imagined, right? So it's kind of cool though. It's a weird statistic, I guess, that's going to be beside my name, but I'm looking at my 9th Brier now, and growing up as a kid, only imagined a few coming out of Manitoba, watching some of my all-time favorite curlers, Kerry Burtnick, Vic Peters. To make 9 is just something I never thought was possible when I was growing up.
Well, everything lines up to, pardon me for saying, but you want it, this drought ending in Regina in 2024 with Mike McEwen skipping Saskatchewan in the green at home. But listen, here's another thing that would not be new to you. It was a little new to me. When we told our audience that you were coming on, all of a sudden, it touched off a holy war, that curling's now like college football's transfer portal. You know what people are talking about, right? The mixing and matching of teams. How do you respond to that? I know you brought up Colton Flash. He's on your team. Some people have a problem with what's happened with curling here and the big names moving around. How do you address that, or do you?
You know what? Honestly, it's not a new thing. It's been happening for over a decade now. I think it's maybe a little bit more in people's faces when it's the skip that's the import. And, I've been that guy the last couple of years, last year in Ontario and this year Saskatchewan. But it's definitely been happening, on multiple fronts for over a decade. It's just, it's not necessarily a common thing where the skip's an import. And then it's maybe more of a conversation piece, right? When the team's under a Manitoban's last name playing out of Saskatchewan, then it's a little bit more of a, it's in right front and center, right? So it's we've had lots of rule changes in curling. Probably, it was brought up to me that curling seems to be the one sport that just has had so many rule changes in the last 10 to 15 years, maybe more so than any sport in Canada.
Yeah, and it's releasing restrictions on the participants. So the fans should be happy about that, And by the way, I talked earlier on this show about I'm going to get a tattoo with my dad's advice. Don't listen to him, Rod. If you want to keep the stencil, I'll give it to you. You might want it, Mike. Although you seem to be handling it well. Maybe you should get into politics when your curling days are done. But it sure brought up some great storylines for the Brier, though. I mean, you won't get into that. You're too busy throwing rocks and strategizing. But this is a delicious field. We don't have all the curlers that are going to be there yet, but it's getting there. You can see how, from a media coverage and hype standpoint, this is pretty exciting Brier, Mike.
Yeah, you know what? We had just a recent rule change where some of the wild cards were declared in advance. So we already had Gushu as the Canadian champ, and then Team Botcher and Team Dunstone in the field even before the season began. So yeah, it's lining up to be, just that there's not going to be a contender missing, to be quite honest. We've got, Kiwi's going to go after an Alberta championship and Team Carruthers Jacobs Manitoban title this weekend. But, barring some upsets, we're likely going to have every single Canadian contender that can win this thing in the field.
Talk about those wild card berths. Hebert's been talking about this, it feels like, for like a year. We did the show out of Calgary quite a bit over the last 2 years, and Benny came down. If you won the Brier wearing green, and he was there with Botcher, it would rip his heart out. Can you please do that for me, Mike? Because there's nothing Ben wants more than to end the drought. And I'm like, you can't do it living in Chestermere, Ben. Oh, my God, this is... This is going to be great, man.
There's a funny thing that Ben said to, and Colton Flash is his former teammate on the Kiwi Canadian Championship team. And he said, this might be your home, Brier, Flash, but Regina is my town.
Of course. Oh, that is such a Hebert thing to say. Oh, is it ever? Oh, my God, Mike. Well, so just tell me what the emotions are of you going in there wearing the green. I think you kind of covered it, but I want you to talk about it again. This is a big deal. Are you ready for what you're... Because you know what a curling mecca it is there. And you're going to have all the country's best curling fans there. Are you ready for it?
Yeah, I think so. Being next door, fellow prairie province, I think I get a pretty good sense of what dedicated, loyal fans Saskatchewan is to, whether it's football or curling, whatever sport we're talking about. You can feel that next door. I got a sense of what a home Brier was like again in London, but you know what, having Pat Simmons on our bench, he was like, Mike, just so you know, it's in Regina, and this is I'm sure London was great, but this is going to be even better. So just having that wealth of experience with Brent Lang and Pat Simmons on our bench, I think we're going to be the most prepared Saskatchewan team of recent memory to have a go at this. I think we're really in a good place to have a good run.
Well, and so, yeah, the Rough Riders aren't playing. So this is officially the biggest thing right now for Saskatchewan to have the Brier there. So, Mike, congratulations on taking home the Saskatchewan men's tankard, first of all, and can't wait to see you in green, and I appreciate the time today.
No problem. Thanks for having me, and hopefully talk again soon.
Absolutely. Good luck. Mike McEwen repping Saskatchewan, the green and white at the Brier. Have we got you sold yet? Tickets are on sale now, curling.ca/tickets. You can purchase yours for both the Scotties and the Brier there, but for the purposes of this, the Montana's Brier presented by AGI, tickets are on sale now.